What is going on, guys? My name is Noonan, and today we're going to do another Super Senso video. Now this is going to be a deck build and gameplay guide on how to utilize Phantasmo. Now a lot of people have asked me to do some deck guide videos and kind of put them into some gameplay, so today I'm going to go ahead and do that. So upon popular request, a lot of people wanted me to do Phantasmo, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Now a lot of people ask me, early on when they unlock their Senso, you get Starshot, and then soon after that you get Phantasmo. He's the third Senso that you will get in the game. And a lot of people wonder, is Phantasmo worth it? Absolutely, absolutely. Phantasmo is a very, very strong Senso right now. Easily a contender for one of the top two Sensos. Other than that, I gotta say Reaper is probably an equal contender for him, but today we're bringing you Phantasmo and how to go about playing them. So let's go over the deck build a little bit, explain how we should use them, and then we'll jump right into a game. So we're rocking Phantasmo. We got a boomer for that little bit of mobility and that armor shred. Always good to have armor shred in your deck, whether it's through the chopper or the boomer. I prefer the boomer just because he costs a little bit less mana. We're rolling with the Sapper. Sapper is an extremely powerful card, just pretty much in any deck right now. So if you're looking for heavy AoE damage, or basically the Sapper warp combo is very, very powerful, but that's kind of not how you play Phantasmo. You got to play him a little bit more on the defensive side. So Sapper's really, really good for that. Next, we want to pair Phantasmo with a Mortar. When Phantasmo has a Mortar, it's a very, very scary playing field for your enemy, because Phantasmo's passive basically pulls units in. So if you start pulling in units and you have a Mortar sitting back, basically you can nuke down everything that comes near you and everything that comes into you. So you're going to pick and choose what units you want to kill, and basically that boomer and that Mortar is going to lay on some heavy damage. Next, I have the Longbow in my deck. You can utilize the Longbow or the Ranger. Essentially, they're very, very similar in damage. I like the Longbow a little bit. It's a little bit higher cost than Gel, but he has armor shred as well, which is really, really nice. That's why I kind of like rocking the Longbow over the Ranger sometimes. But you can kind of give and take those two units. That's totally up to you, because they both have the same range. But like I said, it's kind of give and take that gel cost. So since we get the low cost boomer, we're kind of rolling the Longbow right now. And then we are rocking the Warp. Warp is an absolutely insane card. You might not use it a lot when you're rocking Phantasmo, but basically if you're just trying to get that final little bit of damage in, Warp comes into a lot of good use. So that's pretty much it. I mean, the deck's pretty straightforward. What you want to do is kind of sit back with a lot of units. You got the range, you got the heavy damage, you got the finisher from the Sapper, and you got Phantasmo to kick it back and pull everything in so you can nuke them down. But let's go ahead and jump right into a game, and I'll kind of show you how to utilize and how to position Phantasmo, and what units you should be calling in first, and kind of how you should be building up your back lines as you play the game. So we're gonna wait to load on in here. We're gonna go against we're gonna find someone to play against, and then we'll jump right into it. And the reason why I'm showing you this guy is because, as you saw my star power, we're sitting at 3,300 right now, which is pretty high. It's pretty high up compared to what a lot of people are at, and I'm going to show you guys that Phantasmo is very, very viable early on and all the way into late game right now. I played Phantasmo a few times, and I know some other players that are a little bit ahead of me right now are also rocking Phantasmo. So, I mean, he's a very, very, very viable Senso right now. So, we're going to go into Guardian. That's pretty interesting. Not really too worried about him. So, with Phantasmo, what you want to do is basically you want to kick it back. I like putting them here because we can pull things in and get units to land right there, and we can nuke them all down. But for now, we're going to go ahead and call in a Mortar, and basically we're going to sit back. We're not really going to play aggressive because Phantasmo falls off very, very hard if he plays aggressive because he has no armor. So he has very, very low base health, but what we want to do is basically pull in absolutely everything we can and just shred him down. That's all you want to do. So we can't really go in. We can't make any hits, but we don't really want to go in, and that's perfectly fine. So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and basically call in a Longbow. You can kind of place a Longbow here, or even amongst the back lines. I kind of want to shield a few things, but let's shield with a Sapper, and then call in a Longbow here. And we'll kind of have that sit in the back lines, and we can get some damage in to that tower. So we didn't make too much progress on these units, but we're just getting that tower down a little bit because we don't really want to push in. Pushing in is basically when Phantasmo starts to fall behind. Best way to counter Phantasmo is to play hyper aggressive and kill Phantasmo really, really quickly, because essentially once he's dead, it's tough for that player to kind of make a comeback, because the deck is supposed to be built extremely passively, more of a defensive play style. So let's see what we got in range. Nothing just yet, but what we can do is we can call in a sapper, get that early damage in. We can call in, basically we can do 2 sappers, so we can basically wall off their entrance to the sentinel gate. So if he's coming in here, he might be able to kill, probably not, but basically we're stopping him and we can get damage off next turn. If he comes in here, basically we can nuke him down. So that's pretty good. We're kind of baiting him into either situation over here, which is going to be good for us. And then we're going to call in basically a boomer, so when that guardian gets close, we can shred the armor and start getting the damage on. So everything's very, very situational, but like I said, we're kind of we're building a line of defense, and we're not going in too deep, and we're attracting the enemy to us. And we're kind of got a really good setup against the guardian, because the guardian has to play aggressive, or else he really can't do anything. So as you can see, we got him baited in coming into the top there, which is fine. That's perfectly fine, because now we have that sapper on standby that was playing a shield for us. And what we can do actually is we're gonna keep the sapper shield up. Sappers are really, really good in just about any deck for kind of blocking the path for a lot of units coming into your sentinel gate. So even though we can utilize the sapper, actually we're gonna utilize this one, but we want to keep them up because they make a really, really good wall. So once again, can't really do much, but basically, oh, actually we can pull this one in. So now we can pull him in right into that prime location. We're going to hit him with the boomer, hit him and kill him with the mortar. So like I said, pulling units in and taking them out one by one. So now we got some units down, we got some damage into the guardian. We still have him walled off, so he still can't really make a hard approach. He can maybe kill a sapper, but the sapper's only worth 1 energy, so we're really not going to sweat it if he kills it. So he's coming in with a heavy gunner. Let's see what else he's coming in. More heavy gunners. Okay. Another heavy gunner. Oh my god. See, what's a little bit interesting about this deck is there's a lot of armor to shred through, so it could be very, very scary if you can't really deal with all that heavy gunner armor. But lucky for us, we have a big back line building up here, so we can get a lot of damage as each of them come in. So let's go ahead and utilize our sapper there, because we can always call in more. We're going to have that boomer on standby. Like I said, that slightly mobile heavy damage with that boomer sitting in back is very, very good. So let's go ahead, call in another sapper. Like I said, keeping sapper walls up, very, very important, just because they're so strong right now. Let's go ahead and kill the gunner up top. We're going to keep sappers up. Like I said, sapper walls, really OP. And then we ran out of time, but we could have used our Phantasmo to call in a few more units, but I'm not really sweating it. We might lose this tower, but honestly, his guardian's dead. He has a few small units on the field, and now we have the longbow and Phantasmo with very, very large range that can basically just start pulling in every single little unit he has and pretty much take the victory at this point. So at this point, we're looking really, really good. So let's go ahead and get that mortar off. We're gonna get that big AoE damage. None of them have armor now, but we can come in with the sapper, basically get the kill. We have a boomer over here to get the kill on that other gunner. So we're really stacking up that energy. And then let's see, we have a gunner down here, and then we can we can pull him in with Phantasmo. I don't really want to, but we're gonna go ahead and kill him with a sapper, and let's get our Phantasmo damage to keep laying on pressure to this tower, because if we can and basically keep our Phantasmo safe, we can get pressure on that tower, we can get a lot of damage off. But let's call a sapper on standby. And yeah, we ran out of time, but I'm kind of happy that we have all the mana that we do, because now that we're really making an advantage, we can utilize that sapper warp combo to get some heavy damage off next turn, while we're still maintaining that heavy backline defense with Phantasmo, Mortar, and the longbow. So we're making some pretty good grounds right now. Believe it or not, we're doing really, really good, and we're getting ahead very quickly. So he has a lot of gunners, which is honestly not a good thing for him, because we can warp in the sappers and we can get that damage off in that tower. Now our Phantasmo can lay on some damage on the tower once again, and we can finish it off with that boomer. So having that boomer hanging around, very, very good, because boy, does he do a lot of work. So let's go ahead and call in that sapper. We can actually, let's double warp the sapper and get some heavy damage in on the Senso Gate, just because we're going to cheese a little bit and we're sitting ahead, so I'm not really sweating anything too much right now. So another 161 damage for us. We have 2 energy for the next turn. Basically, we could do another Sapper Warp onto the Senso Gate, and if we get another 161 damage the next turn, essentially that's the victory at that point. But as you guys saw, Basically, we got Phantasmo in a decent location very early on, basically enough where he had a space in front of him so we can pull in any units we wanted, and then we had a mortar on standby the whole time. Mortar putting in that AoE damage work, finishing it off with sappers for more AoE, and then potentially pulling in with the Phantasmo when we had to. So let's go ahead and do this. Like I said, mortar on standby, doing that heavy AoE damage. You can never really go wrong having those sappers available to start pulling things in. Also very good. So let's grab this gunner, and basically he can just chill there for now, but what we're gonna do is warp this sapper in. Oh, we ran out of mana. We should have warped him right there. We messed up a little bit, but that's okay. We make some mistakes sometimes. No big deal. Let's get that 161 damage off, and then basically we can utilize the sapper next turn to essentially take the victory. But if I didn't misclick there, we could have warped the sapper in one space more forward than he was, and we could have him run into the Central Gate for that victory. But we made a little bit of a mistake. There's really not much for him to do at this point to make a comeback. He's grouping up some heavy gunners. Basically, if we had more sappers, we could have nuked them all down if we were still a little bit behind. We have this gunner trap, so he could have laid on some damage for us, but at this point, really, he's so insignificant, it doesn't even matter. But now we can go ahead and utilize the extra mana that we do have to warp in the sappers, and now we can take the victory. And that's pretty much all you gotta do when playing Phantasmo. Keep him out of the reach of your enemy, start pulling things in, and let those strikes accumulate up and just take your enemy down. And that's all you gotta do, my dudes. And then look at that, 22 star power. Oh my lord, I can't even talk, and we're still climbing the ladder. Like I said, at this high rank of a level, Phantasmo is still a very viable Senso. And once again, I'll kind of pop up the deck that I'm rolling. So like I said, Phantasmo, Boomer for that kind of backline heavy damage when you need it, Sappers just because that heavy AoE damage in the warp combo when you can get it off is extremely powerful. Mortar always on standby with Phantasmo because like I said, you can pull things in, nuke them down. It's some heavy damage that you really don't want to be dealing with. And then that Longbow or the Ranger, depending on whichever one you have. If you want to play a little bit less mana and you want to have a Ranger on standby, you can do that. You could do that. Like I said, both are still very, very viable, but it's personal preference to that point. And then Warp just because you can get some creative plays off a few turns and get heavy damage off here and there. But if you guys have enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. But if you guys want more stuff like this, do let me know in the comment section down below. I would be more than happy to kind of go over and make some more deck and gameplay guide videos for you guys if you guys enjoy this stuff. But as always, guys, and like I always say, have fun while you're playing Super Senso.